what have I learned outside of the classroom or workplace that would make me a better teammate at an aerospace company? While I thought about this prompt, it soon developed into a What is IRVI, the 20-year-old's life lessons. And I think from my opportunities in leadership, I've come up with a list that falls under this main mantra. Your entire career, no matter what you do, will be working with people. So your ethos is incredibly important. This revolves around your personal skills, your presence, and in my case, as the woman in the room, an ability to separate the person from the problem. It's not you against them, it's you and them against the problem. Ethos is comprised of how you stay true to yourself, your consistency in deliverables and showing up, and your confidence. If you don't believe in yourself, if you're not intrinsically motivated, how do you expect others to be? And there are a few ways I have learned to build this character and make myself a helpful, powerful presence in the work setting. Number 1. Make an effort to be technically proficient, but in truly any setting, understand what the other party is coming from and what they're doing. This doesn't have to be technical, but in my case it is. After a semester in the Texas Rocket Engineering Lab, I became the director of operations. I was no longer a member designing our ground structure. I was now in charge of Halcyon, our entire project, and leading 250 plus people. There was an incredible shift in responsibility surrounding me and my decisions, and this was not something I could easily adjust to. I started by establishing personal connections with every lead. I spent 3 a.m. Saturday nights in the trail room reviewing our initial trade studies surrounding CFBVs, our PDR of the reaction control system, and teaching myself how to read the engine P&ID. I would ask anything and everything and challenge logic until I fully understood, never following blindly. In a month's time, I had scoured the ends of SharePoint documentation, and the more I learned, the more my hunger to understand every system grew. This ended up being so critical in presenting and motivating progress. My peers trusted me in leading meetings because I made such an effort to understand where they, and in turn I, was passionate about. Inquiry-based learning led to technical competency. And on a less serious note, show your personality and present yourself authentically. This can be done through something as simple as style. For a long part of my high school journey, I tried very hard to fit into what everyone else was wearing in order to be perceived the same. And I know this is such a simple, slight thing that you might be thinking, why is it so important to her? I hold a lot of pride in my self-expression through what I wear because I used to be so self-conscious of it. It's a given that I will show up to a Trell or LRA meeting wearing whatever I'm feeling that day, and as time permits, I don't skip on the fits. One of the biggest stereotypes for girls that has plagued my journey in STEM is that I have to look and dress a certain way to be taken seriously by my male counterparts. However, it's an independent entity, which doesn't mean anything other than my expression, not my ability. Creativity and style shapes my personality and my career. It's a way people remember me by. But really, in the professional world, present yourself authentically. If you are comfortable in your own skin, it increases your confidence and makes things like work discussions, tag-ups, etc. easier. And in my case, it sometimes just establishes my presence. And going off of externally presenting yourself authentically comes the internal counterpart. I am a big proponent of diversity and inclusion initiatives, and in that way, I sometimes hold the other directors accountable to this. While we were prepping for a meeting with the dean, our PI suggested that we introduce ourselves with pronouns. The 2 white men next to me, and don't get me wrong, they're some of my closest friends, said, "I'm a man, it's implied." But I paused, continued on with the speech preparations, and then butted in about a minute later. And I said, it's very important that we do because we support the people in this lab, and I continued to talk about safe spaces. They immediately apologized, and I think I gained a little bit more respect from that conversation. And not specifically from them, but if I had stayed silent, I would have been complacent, and that just wouldn't be me. For the other women in the trail room that morning, I would have lost all credibility for what I stand for. And not as if that was a weighing factor. I mean, I said something because I truly cared. But what I'm trying to say is that if you are authentic, it comes easily. Having a growth-oriented mindset is also approaching the situation as removing the thinking from the individual. I don't hold their lack of awareness for the situation against them. It was an opportunity to learn on both ends. And these themes of strengthening your ethos and credibility with your team are essential when entering the aerospace industry. It's a close-knit place, and you will likely work with the same people again, even if it's at a different company entirely. Okay, now we recap. Well, number 1. I started by talking about technical competency, but really just ask questions so that you're a well-rounded individual on your team. And you're promoting knowledge sharing and promoting that psychologically safe environment. Number 2, present yourself authentically both inside and out. And this is when I talked about my style and how I am a big proponent of D&I. It develops your persona and it builds trust in your teammates as well. Number 3, approach problems with a growth-oriented mindset. Your teammates and you are always growing. I am always learning as well, and I by no means am an expert on any of the things that I touched on. I just hope something that I said resonates with you.